Okay, so the UK job market, we need to talk about it. People are applying for jobs, they're not getting anything, there's no interviews happening, companies are posting job adverts that don't seem to exist, and everybody's panicking, and the market is not looking good. Everybody's also applying like it's the 90s and it's 2025, and nobody's having a good experience. Very rarely do you hear someone saying, "Hey, I'm getting like 10 interviews a week." It's not happening. So, what is going on? I'm going to give my 2 cents, and I'm going to explain a little bit about how I've helped people achieve interviews and offers in this type of market. And I'm also going to explain a little bit about what I think you should do in this video. I'm also going to put in a few links at the bottom of this video so you can get some sort of clarity of the landscape and what you're up against, because it's not going to be easy, but it's also not going to be impossible. There are things that you can do to actually generate offers. So, what is happening? A ton of different things. You have market saturation being the biggest issue. So there's a lot of people applying for jobs where people are actually feeling like they're playing lottery. You apply for jobs, you apply for 10 jobs a day, you've been doing it for a couple of months, and you're just constantly getting, unfortunately, you haven't been successful, unfortunately, you haven't been successful, or hey, your profile looks great, but unfortunately, you haven't been successful emails. And it's soul destroying. You start to think, okay, well, what's happening? Am I going to get this job? Is this going to happen? Am I actually going to get an opportunity? So what do we do? What do we have to kind of look at? So that's the market saturation. That's the biggest issue at the moment. So you have AI, and I don't mean AI as in ChatGPT. Yes, ChatGPT is amazing, but AI automation, businesses are trying to figure out how to fire as many human employees as possible. I know that seems like a really, you know, contrast based type of statement of like, no, there's great companies out there that want to retain humans and they don't want to put AI in the workforce. I can assure you right now that there's business owners right now who are just thinking, okay, I have a customer service department and there's 15 people. How do I get a machine to do all of their jobs? There's that happening, and there's that happening all the way down to like data entry, just generic automation. And there's automation tools that existed before AI that are now being infused with AI that are eliminating jobs. There's also, I would say, companies being really picky about who they hire, not from a skills perspective, but from like a profile perspective. So you have different personality fits, you have different soft skills, you have different company cultures, you have international job seekers, you have graduates, you have local job seekers, you have job changers because of AI. And it's just a whole like melting pot of like different viewpoints and different jobs wanting to be done. So you have teachers who want to become data analysts, you have international job seekers who want to be business intelligence analysts. Then you have people who work in finance where their jobs are actually being so disrupted by AI, thinking, well, I'm going to get into fintech now. And it's just stress. So it's just so much different stuff happening. And then along you come and you apply for jobs and then you're just not getting anything. So there's market saturation, then there's AI. And then there's also the world's changing. You've got geopolitical issues, you've got wars, you've got conflicts, you've got money kind of disappearing and not being invested into the right places. Then you've got all these, calamities happening and departments are closing down. You've got new products being created, and then you're trying to get a job in the middle of that. So that's my take on what the issue is. Now, we could turn this video into like a 3-hour video of me breaking down everything. And by the way, I'm not a geopolitics expert. Neither am I an economist. Neither am I a master of human psychology. I am an admirer of all of these things, and I have real first-hand accounts of how people are actually getting into jobs and how companies are hiring and how some of these things are affecting hiring practices and what companies are then investing their money into, because I'm active in the space. So just a little bit more info about me. I run a company called How to Job, so that's the channel name. And How to Job is something that I've started in 2020. So just smack bang in the middle of the pandemic where everybody was losing their jobs. But prior to How to Job, I ran a recruitment agency from 2013 called New London. And it was traditional agency recruitment. I was helping people get jobs by traditionally sending their CVs to companies. Now, How to Job, the focus of How to Job is more educational technology and coaching. So I help a lot of job seekers get into roles. And over the last 5 years, I've helped a lot of job seekers get into some really interesting positions, but handling all the challenges that you're facing right now, but just in the early stages of it. So some of my students I've helped get into jobs when the first lockdown happened, and then when companies started firing half of their departments, and then when people started deciding, you know what, AI seems to be an interesting thing. This is before ChatGPT came out. Getting into that area of the business and the industry. So I've got a very interesting, unique perspective because I've seen what works and why companies are hiring the way that they are. So that's me. And I've helped a lot of people do that. Now, why should you listen to me and why am I worth listening to? Because I've seen the challenges that people face and I've also seen what works. So, right now, like I said in the beginning part of this video, everyone's kind of like job hunting like it's the 90s. And you apply for a job, you send an email, you send an application. It's being considered, it says pending on certain job boards, or it might not even say that. But then within about 2 days, you get an email saying, unfortunately, you haven't been successful. So that's what people did in the 90s, except, they probably got a genuine response because there was less market saturation, there was less people to compete with. But right now, you're doing the same thing, except you're dealing with 5,000 job seekers at any one time. So that's getting in the way. To bring you to the present, you need to start really thinking about what people are doing on LinkedIn. You need to think about personal branding. You need to think about why these companies should hire you. And you need to think about what companies you're actually looking at and what roles you're looking at. What's the USP? What's your elevator pitch? USP meaning your unique selling point. Your elevator pitch being that 30-second sales pitch that you can tell an employer like why they should hire you. You need that to be available because people are getting jobs. It's not like impossible to get a position. It's just more challenging. So if you're competing against 5,000 people, 4,999 people are saying the same thing as you. Hey, I'm looking for a job. I'm going to be the best thing since sliced bread. I'm really passionate about this industry or whatever it is that they're saying. You need to stand out from the crowd. And if you're standing out from the crowd by doing what someone did in the 90s by just sending a CV or having a cover letter that's ChatGPT created, not to say people did that in the 90s because ChatGPT didn't exist, of course, but I wish it did. Imagine that. But you have to be able to sell yourself more effectively. So some of my students, they're looking for AI jobs and they're actually selling the fact that they can work in a startup, that they're genuinely interested in AI and that they're looking for an agile environment and that they're very motivated and time management focused people. So now they're getting a little bit closer to what they're looking for. That might be you. You might be looking for a startup, but you might be applying left, right, and center to big companies just because you think that's the right way. If you start introducing LinkedIn into your job search strategy, you will have people look at your profile and you will have the ability to sell yourself more effectively. It's all about personal branding. So personal branding needs to be something you consider. So your LinkedIn profile will do a lot of your digital legwork for you. So get your profile to do the work that you're actually spending time on. The average job seeker now spends about 11 hours a week just applying for jobs. And that's not considering their LinkedIn profile, personal branding, their algorithmic score on LinkedIn, which is what I'm going to talk about for another video, who they're reaching out to, the quality of people they reach out to. None of that's included within those 11 hours. It's just purely apply, where you apply, you put a CV, you fill in the form, you're basically repeating what's on the CV itself on that form, and it's generating slim to none in terms of results, right? So nothing's happening. But if you switch it around and you start to really think about your LinkedIn and, okay, you know what, I'm going to focus on my headline. I'm going to focus on the bio. I'm going to focus on the types of people that I effectively commit to connecting to. So you've got initially 4 types of people that you should be looking at. So you've got agency recruiters, which are arguably the toughest people to get help from because they're focused on commissions. And I'll save that for another video as well. You've got hiring managers, which are focused on policy. So are you going to be the right fit for the policy of the company? And that can mean so many different things, like your culture fit, your soft skill fit, your work style, all these different things. You've got people who are actually doing the job. So let's say you're an international job seeker right now and you want to work for a fintech firm. Let's say an established company. Let's say Revolut. You should be focused on people who are doing the job that you want to do from the same background as you, because it will show you that Revolut can sponsor or any other company in the fintech space or whatever industry you're in. So reaching out to people and actually getting meetings with people who are doing the job in the focus point of getting a recommendation. So imagine someone doing the job that you want to do in a company you want to work for recommends you to a hiring manager. You ultimately will have a much better chance to be considered for that role. It's not just about hoping for the best and making an application. It's actually making connections. So that's the third type of person. So we have agency recruiters, we have hiring managers, we have people doing the job. Then you have people who are decision makers. So people who effectively are calling the shots, who are influencing the hiring process. Those people you really want to get to know. And also, if you have them as connections on your LinkedIn profile looks better, because if they have mutual connections, you will just expand your network. Your applications that you make will just hit more, and you will get more shortlists. And that will just naturally help you. So that's something that you need to consider. Because if you're doing this from a point of view of just like the 90s style of job seeker, which is apply, 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 you run the risk of going through hell with your job search. And I genuinely mean that. Like, I speak to people who have been applying for 1 year. The longest I've spoken to someone who has sort of job searched for quite a long time would be 2 years. And I was in disbelief when I first heard that, where I had to do a double take. Like, 2 years? Really, 2 years? Or are you just exaggerating? No, 2 years. 2 years, I think 2 interviews in 2 years. Now, mind you, this candidate was in a part-time position, spending 11 and a half hours a week, he said, every single week trying to get a role on top of his part-time role. And he just left it for 2 years. And he did that for 2 years and barely got anywhere. He ended up getting a job, but he shifted his strategy away from the traditional process of, okay, I'm just going to apply. You've got nothing to lose in this type of market by just doing more. Okay, you can spend more time, but look at it as an investment of you finding out what's happening in the market, and look at it as something that you need to do, because your choice, your alternative to not doing more is doing what you've done before, which is generating nothing. And by the way, some of you are getting interviews, but I'm talking to the people right now who are not getting anything. And the first thing I have to say to you is you're not the only one, because I speak to about probably 50 people a day myself on the phone. And I'm hearing some really, really tricky things. Hey, I've been applying for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. I've had one interview, or I'm getting interviews, but I'm getting assessment centers, but they're not converting into face-to-face meetings. What am I doing wrong? And the answer that I would say is, rather than focusing on the uncontrollables, because look, on YouTube, you've got a lot of people who are like, hey, this economy is really bad. Like, I'm not going to get a job. The job market's completely destroyed. It is bad, but it's not impossible. So focus on the things you can control. This is your time. This is the strategy that you deploy. If you deploy a good strategy and you do things differently that other people are doing that are getting results, and you start getting those set results, you'll just naturally be in a better space. So that's something to consider. But what I would say to you is, you want to start looking at your job search as a personal branding experience and a contact sport. If you know people who have influence in the hiring process and they like you, you are much more likely to get an opportunity. That's the statement that I want to give you. Now, if your actions every day are pulling you away from that, you're going to experience the same thing that you've been experiencing. If your actions are pulling you towards that, which is dealing with people who actually have decision-making ability, who actually can look at your profile, and if they like you, you might be a really likable person, but you're not giving yourself a shot. You might be quite introverted, and you might think, well, I don't really like speaking to people. It's not really my thing. The role that I want to do is technical. But it doesn't mean that people won't like you for you. It just means that you need to put yourself out there to be able to have the opportunity to know, even if you are introverted, maybe you're going to find some people who actually think that you're going to be the perfect fit for a project. They don't have to like you if you're not extroverted. So that's something to consider, because your job search needs to be different than what you're experiencing at the moment. And we all know that good things happen inside your comfort zone, right? Wrong. You have to kind of push out a little bit. And I feel like a lot of people need to hear that message, because they're not doing enough. Well, they're doing, what everybody else is doing. So at the end of this video, go through the links below this video. You can book a call with me. I'm more than happy to speak to you. depending on my time, of course, depending on how many views this video gets and how many links people click on. But, you know, I wanted to kind of give you a it's going to be okay type of video. It may seem like everything's screwed at the moment, and it does seem that way. And I know the economy is kind of here, there, and everywhere, and especially with what Trump's doing with the global tariffs, it might be pretty scary. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to do more than the average job seeker. The average job seeker is going to do average things. There's always going to be a large statistical percentage of people that do that. But you being on this video and actually thinking, you know what, there are people speaking about this. I need to change what I'm doing. I think now's the time and now's your sign to kind of start doing that. So let's get busy on LinkedIn and let's start reaching out to people. I believe in you.